Good morning. My name is Lisa Raichu Kessler, and I'm here at the Ecumenical Buddhist Society of Little Rock. I'd like to welcome you to the 30-minute meditation this beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you're well and happy and, ready to spend a few minutes just kind of taking care of yourself and bringing your attention inward, making that connection between mind and body as we sit together. So the title of the presentation, which of course will be brief because we'll spend most of our time in meditation, but the title is Roses and Garbage. So I'm continuing to read from Thich Nhat Hanh's commentaries on the Heart Sutra from his book, The Heart of Understanding. And in case you haven't tuned in with me in the past few weeks, just to give a little background, the Heart Sutra is a very important sutra or teaching in Buddhism, especially from the Mahayana and Zen tradition. So in this particular chapter, Thai is referring to one of the lines in the Heart Sutra that basically states, neither defiled nor immaculate. And so again, the reading is a little lengthy, and so I'm not going to read quite all of it. So Thai says to us, defiled or immaculate, dirty or pure. These are concepts we form in our mind. A beautiful rose we have cut and placed in a vase is immaculate. It smells so good, so pure, so fresh. It supports the idea of immaculateness. The opposite is a garbage can. It smells horrible and it is filled with rotten things. But that is only when you look on the surface. If you look more deeply, you see that in just 5 or 6 days, the rose will become part of the garbage. You do not need to wait 5 days to see it. If you just look at the rose and you look deeply, you can see it now. And if you look into the garbage can, you see that in a few months, its contents can transform into lovely vegetables and even a rose. If you are a good organic gardener, you have the eyes of a bodhisattva. Looking at a rose, you can see the garbage, and looking at the garbage, you can see the rose. Roses and garbage are inter-are. Without a rose, we cannot have garbage. And without garbage, we cannot have a rose. They need each other very much. The rose and the garbage are equal. The garbage is just as precious as the rose. If we look deeply at the concepts of defiled and immaculate, we return to the notion of interbeing. In a particular reading in Buddhism, there's a very short passage on how the world has come to be. It is very simple, very easy to understand, and yet very deep. That is because that is. This is not because that is not. This is like this because that is like that. This is the Buddhist teaching of Genesis. He goes on to say, in the city of Manila, there are many young prostitutes, some of them only 14 or 15 years old. They are very unhappy young people. They did not want to be prostitutes. Their families are poor, and these young girls went to the city to look for some kind of job, like a street vendor, or to make money to send back to their families. Of course, this is not true only in Manila, but in Ho Chi Minh City, in Vietnam, in Lagos, in Nigeria, in New York City, and in Paris also. It is true that in the city you can make money more easily than in the countryside. So we can imagine how a young girl may be tempted to go there to help her family, but only after a few weeks there she is persuaded by a clever person to work for her and to earn perhaps 100 times more money. Because she was so young and did not know much about life, she accepts and becomes a prostitute. Since that time, she has carried the feeling of being impure, defiled, and this causes her great suffering. When she looks at other young girls dressed beautifully, belonging to good families, a wretched feeling wells up in her, and this feeling of defilement has become her hell. But if she had the opportunity to meet Avalokita, he would tell her to look deeply at herself and at the whole situation and see that she is like this because other people are like that. This is like this because that is like that. So how can a so-called good girl belonging to a good family be proud? Because their way of life is like this, the other girl has to be like that. No one among us has clean hands. No one of us can claim it is not our responsibility. The girl in Manila is that way because of the way we are. Looking into the life of that young prostitute, we see the people who are not prostitutes. And looking at the people who are not prostitutes and at the way we live our lives, we see the prostitute. This helps to create that, and that helps to create this. So he goes on to talk a little bit about wealth and poverty and the interbeing of the two. He says we are imprisoned by our ideas of good and evil. We want to be only good and we want to remove all the evil. But that is because we forget that good is made of non-good elements. Suppose I'm holding a lovely branch. When we look at it with non-discriminating mind, we see this wonderful branch. But as soon as we distinguish that one end is at the left and the other end is at the right, we get into trouble. We may say that we only want the left and we do not want the right. And there is often trouble right away. If the righteous is not there, how can you be a leftist? If the right is not there, how can you be the left? Let us say that I do not want the right end of this branch, that I only want the left. So I break off the half of this reality and throw it away. But as soon as I throw the unwanted half away, the end that remains becomes the new right. Because as soon as the left is there, the right must be there. If I become frustrated and do it again, breaking what remains of my branch in half, I will still have a right and a left. So I'll finish the reading at that point, and let us just sit with that as we notice our posture. Perhaps we can consider, if I don't have a bad posture, I can't consider the good posture. And without considering the good posture, I cannot consider the bad. And so in that way, we create opposites. So consider now that as you sit, your posture is neither good nor bad. Your posture is just what it is. And so we sit with our back straight, the front is soft, and the heart is open. And perhaps also the mind remains open to every possibility. We notice any muscles we don't need to use to sit in our upright position. We notice how our arms can just relax and hang from the shoulders. with the hands perhaps resting on the top of our legs or perhaps in the cosmic mudra right below the belly button. We notice how our legs or possibly our feet, if we're sitting in a chair, are connected to the ground below us, that connecting us to everything else. And in that way, perhaps consider the environment is not outside of us. The environment is also inside of us. We are not separate from the world around us. We are the world around us. As we begin to just breathe in, taking that same air that was outside of us now becomes inside of us. And then allowing that breath to leave the body as the next breath enters. Breathing in, breathing out, in and out. We simply allow the mind and body to connect through the breath in the present moment. Perhaps we could even look at our front yard and we notice our grass is beautiful and green, and our neighbor's yard is all weeds and brown. And that causes us to draw a line, to draw a boundary, to look at these opposites and say, my yard is good, my neighbor's yard is bad. But perhaps if we consider that my neighbor's yard is also mine. And so when I cut my grass, I cut my neighbor's grass. And when I water my grass, I water my neighbor's grass. Because that boundary we've drawn between the two, well, perhaps it doesn't even exist. And we just continue to sit together, sitting with our breath, knowing that the present moment is the only moment we have. The present breath is the only breath that we have. As we just sit and we breathe, allowing the thoughts to drift by without attaching to them like clouds on a breezy day. And so Ty goes on to reveal to us we are not separate. We are inextricably interrelated. That's a word I have difficulty with. The rose is the garbage, and the non prostitute is the prostitute. The rich man is the poor woman, and the Buddhist is the non-Buddhist. The non-Buddhist cannot help but be a Buddhist because we enter are. The emancipation of the young prostitute will come as she sees into the nature of interbeing. She will know that she is bearing the fruit of the whole world. And if we look into ourselves and see her, we bear her pain and the pain of the whole world. And so I'd like to just dedicate our time together this morning to that interbeing, to that connection between us all. And so I'd just like to remind everyone that we do have a webpage, ebslr.org, and you can go there and find out more about our online practices that continue during the pandemic. You're welcome to contact the leader of a practice that you may be a bit curious about if you'd like to get some more information to come. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, a beautiful life.